On today's episode of Watch Chair Go, we are back with my 1967 Camaro, and we're trying so hard to get this thing done, and it's just not happening. What is going on, guys? I am Watch Chair Go, and like I said today, we're gonna try to get this in this. But there's quite a lot to do before we really get there. We have to get this power steering pump out. We were gonna reuse it because it does need a Saginaw, but it doesn't need that Saginaw. We actually have to switch to a different power steering pump that's brand new. And I'm gonna go ahead and get the fluid out of there, get that drained down and get the hoses off of it. And then we have here the ICT Billet engine alignment tool, engine mount alignment tool. So this lets you kind of mock everything up where it needs to be and get your mount set up right. So that's gonna be really cool. We're gonna try to use that to make engine installation very fast and easy. For now, let's see, I've got a pan under there. I don't know how much fluid's in there. So we're gonna go ahead and use the vacuum extractor to suck all the fluid out of this and dump it in that pan. And then the rest of it, we'll just let leak down. How much fluid is in here? Probably, you'd expect that it's all leaked out. A little bit. Now we're getting some fluid out. All right, we'll dump all this into the pan below, all the way down into the reservoir. All right, there's really not that much in there. I'm gonna go ahead and break the fittings loose and we're gonna get all this off. Okay, and we're gonna throw away this whole line too, because the new power steering pump changes the line routing. So I can go ahead and take that out and get it out of the engine mount, because I don't like that at all. Do not like that. And we should be able to make a mess. Aha. Transmission mount going on. That's gonna be fancy. Of course, everything is energy suspension on the mounts. We got the energy engine mounts right there and the transmission mount, and they're all poly, so it should be, you know, it's a good mix between that rubber and a solid mount. Obviously, we don't want solid mounts, we want something that's a driver. And now we get to open up our new exhaust. I didn't purposely wear this shirt, or maybe I did. It just worked out that way. Exhaust gaskets, that's always nice. Really good crushable gaskets, that's cool. And are these long tubes? They're pretty long. Man.
Oh, you got that knife.
I do have that knife. Wow, these look really fancy. Like full stainless.
If they're as nice as that gas tank.
Yeah, that gas tank is incredible.
Business.
Oh man.
And they are.
Oh man. Yeah, these are gonna have to go on first, aren't they? No doubt about that. Well, good thing we brought them over before we started putting the engine in today.
That collector, that spike in the middle.
Oh. Is this super nice? Oh wow, that's beautiful.
And these are heavy. These are not thin wall, cheap headers.
Man. And we don't have to weld an O2 bung in, which is the best part of the whole build. That saves like 30 minutes. We can do dual O2. Man, they polish the inside of the collectors. It's like all polished.
Airflow.
It's just polished as they could get them. Man, that welded on hooker badge.
Yeah. Oh. We're scratching up already.
Hey, I gently put it on the ground. I did not scratch anything.
Threw it on the ground.
I threw the rest of the cake too.
That's pretty good.
Installed, done.
Shout out to Holley. They even include new bolts, and they're nice flanged head bolts. So, you want some bolts and a gasket?
Clearance the motor mount.
It's time to build our new ICT Billet steam port for this. It looks a lot better than that rusted piece of junk crossover right there, the steam crossover. So, let's see, which one goes where? I think that one goes there, yes, because the steam port comes out this side. It replaces this ugly hose and everything. So we'll have this nice braided line that goes in right here. We've got some thread sealant on there, and we'll run it all the way down. And then we'll have this one over here. Same drill, tighten this guy down, and then I've got thread sealant. I'm holding all this weird because it's all covered in thread sealant already. We'll tighten all this down, and then it all goes in there just like that, and that thing's assembled super quick, super easy. And pull these tins, replace them with cap screws that look even better. And there's O-rings, of course. The O-rings go right here. Make sure you get the old O-rings off, or you will have a major problem with your cooling system. I gotta tell you that this just isn't working very well. You know, sometimes you get really destroyed on these builds, and that's what's going on with this. First, we couldn't get the Holley radiator that I wanted. So, of course, we put the Holley radiator for the 67 Camaro. That's what's in the rolls, but it was extensively modified to fit the rolls. So the soonest I could get one of these was like after LS Fest. So I had to spend $900 on this AFCO radiator. And it's not even the one I wanted because our fan shroud doesn't fit it correctly. So yesterday we had to we cut the flanges off this Holley shroud that I already had with the Holley fans. And we welded it on to this AFCO radiator, which kind of hurt because this thing was like the most expensive radiator you could humanly buy. And it's pretty, and it's a dual pass, 3-row, it's like super nice radiator, and it will cool the car very well. But first, I mean, all that had to be custom made. And that's not even remotely the problem here. Of course, the transmission seemed like it went well, but it's untested. We don't know if that's gonna work. The fuel tank, we fought to get this fitting, which came out of the fuel pump into the AN line right there. That took like 2 30-mile trips, so we're just running back and forth to get parts nonstop. Luckily, this is some hose I had left over from the rolls that we could use for fuel line. So we've been fighting there, but the fuel tank, I think, after I get the vent stuff all rigged together, is ready to go in the car. There's one problem that took a long time to solve. Now down here is the hose I need to use for the vent, but it's also the transmission cooling line, and it's currently hooked up to the transmission, and I don't want to cut it until we get it in place, and then we actually know where that's going to land. Of course, that's going to go to the transmission cooler, which is in the radiator. So the radiator has to go in, and before the radiator can go in, the engine has to be in place permanently, because otherwise we don't want to leave the radiator in and take the engine in and out because you can tear up the radiator. And if something goes wrong there, you're in trouble. Like, that stuff can't be replaced at this point. So now that brings us to our real problem, the problem that is holding everything up and is just crushing me, because no matter what we do, we can't get the parts here because we need to get this done and you guys need to see it get done, and I'm done. And we got what's supposed to fit the 67, which is that one right there. You guys saw them go on, they're beautiful, and they absolutely fit the LS. However, they don't let you get the engine in the 67. When we tried that, we couldn't get any firewall clearance, and the heads were hitting, and I mean, everything was hitting. So we went back to ICT Billet and we got their 628 mounts, which are awesome, and in there, and now you can see that the mount is aligned properly with the mount tower on the frame there. So the engine mounts we had to go from the tower to the ICT billet plate were the 3 1117s. And the 3 1117s are the tall narrows. And just randomly in 67, and who knows, anywhere in the first gen Camaros, they randomly switch between the tall narrow mounts and the short wide mounts. And unless all you do is like first gen Camaros, you'd have no idea that you need a different mount. So what we did need is what O'Reilly's just overnighted for me. This is the 3 1114R. And apparently there's like 20 of these in the entire US, because even after overnighting them, we only got one, and the other one's coming from a different warehouse. So we won't have the right engine mounts until tomorrow. And like, this thing has to go in today, or the build basically doesn't happen. Like, we don't make LS Fest. And I know Roadkill did this in the past, and we based our information on that for these tall narrow mounts. They said that you could just bend the mount tabs like crazy and it would fit those. And obviously, like, it's sitting on there, but it's not remotely close to fitting on the tower. So we ruined those mounts following Roadkill's advice, basically. I don't think they even did that. Like, they either destroyed the mounts or took all the poly out of it. They're trash, clearly. Like, that's not good. And if you heated them up, they'd melt. And if you bend them anymore, they'd break. So I don't know how that ever happened, but you know, we based our math on that anecdote, and that didn't work at all. At least we know the engine's kind of in position, and we need to start bolting this thing together. And unfortunately, it's gonna have to come out again. And it has to come out again for like the 7th time, so we can put the long tubes on. Now we know that the long tubes won't fit with the engine in. It does have to just be at least lifted a little bit. So this time, we're gonna go ahead and lift the engine up. I'll get that mount on, and then we'll pull it forward just a little bit, slide the headers down in, and today can progress. So anyway, back to work. I'm not complaining or anything. I'm just trying to explain to you guys how terrible this can be. We're in such a rough situation, and I'm fighting as hard as I can to get out of it, but man, it's just not coming together. We will absolutely find a way to make this work, and the car will be at LS Fest. All right, we are here at O'Reilly's because they have absolutely saved the day. The engine mounts, it's been such a struggle, but they've got the right ones and they overnighted them for us. So let's get in here and buy some engine mounts. Okay, we finally have the right engine mount for the 67. Thanks, guys.
No problem, brother. You're welcome.
All right, later, Jesse. Back up she goes, and hopefully I can get just enough clearance to get in there with maybe the right angle ratchet, and maybe I was like, I don't think I'm even lifting this. All right, there we go. So here is the short wide, and here is the tall narrow. These are the 3.117s, and they just don't work for our application. And now the correct mount is installed on the driver's side. Let's see. Maybe it'll just fall into place instead of all the fighting we were doing before. Well, it's unbelievably close, if not actually on. The engine is in and pinned on the new energy mounts, and we're ready to actually get this the seat belt off the engine that's holding it there. Oh, coming out.
Warp speed.
Warp speed. Oh.
We'll just put that down there.
We forgot about, that's cool, it's where it needed to be.
Apparently it was hanging on the foot of the hoist.
Oh, well, at least, I thought it went in and out. That one goes in and out, the passenger side header there. The driver's side one cannot move in and out because the steering box is in the way. So we had to install the engine with it in. So now we've got to untie the seat belt, work around our plastic that's keeping the headers nice and clean, and try to tuck that in there. I guess I should have included you guys in our pizza break here, but we had some pizza real quick, and I guess we're done with that now. And the engine's in, of course, as you saw. Now the ICT billet mounts for the power steering pump are on, the alternator is on, and of course, more logistics issues, the fuel rail crossover had to be removed. So if you take a look right here, that is the 8 ORB fitting that goes to this 8A inline that is the fuel crossover. Well, the fuel no longer crosses over because of the alternator being mounted there. It doesn't fit, and we can't put the crossover on the rear. Well, we don't want to because it's not a great look. We need a 90-degree 8AN fitting to ORB that lets us transition that straight down, and then we need 2 of them actually because we're going to move both of them so it looks right. So both of those need to point down now. The radiator is in now. It's bolted up. The cross member is in now. All the bolts are tight on the exhaust. I got the O2 sensor in. Josh mounted the coils just now, and coils are looking good. The wires are on. And we ran to O'Reilly's and got a belt. So actually I went to O'Reilly's and got 2 belts because we don't actually know which one it is yet since it's a custom belt routing. We got a 96 and 5/8 and a 96 and 1/8. So we're gonna go ahead and loop those through the bracket here and see what we come up with for belt routing. Either one of those should actually work. And then we need to figure out hoses. We haven't figured those out yet for the radiator. So it'll be back to O'Reilly's to come up with something for that.
That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, there probably are special hoses to LS swap your 67, but you know what? Any hose might fit. It might fit like the Trailblazer hose. It's almost the same distance, isn't it?
Maybe.
Guess we'll
probably went to Google.
We're gonna find out. Yeah, someone's done this.
We're not in uncharted waters.
Yep. And anyway, the things are moving right along, and our transmission lines are ready to be routed up here for the transcooler. So we will get grinding on that here in just a moment. We can pull out those plugs and install the transmission. Yeah, where'd they go? Oh, that was just the, okay. Yeah, those are the transmission
I saw the
adapters.
steam port tube over there.
Gotcha. So the steam port is ready to go. It'll be a little hose that goes from right there to right here. And they don't include, they include the bar, but they don't put it in. So that's ready to be hooked up. And these are ready to be hooked up. And we'll have to figure out how we're gonna make those work, whether it's a nipple or an AN fitting. Take you guys under the car real fast where you can see the prettiest underbody of a drivetrain I think I've ever seen. This looks like we're in Mecum or something. That black transmission, that brand new pan, these long tube headers and O2 installed and everything like that. It is looking good. Good progress. Let's see how much farther we get today. Do you wanna try it?
956.
Let's see, this is the 96 and an 8, so you have the shortest one. Is it too long?
Yeah.
Uh-oh, I was about to
How did we mess that up?
Doesn't make any sense. And my 10th O'Reilly's run of the day. As we saw, the belts did not fit. So we're gonna shorten them up quite a bit. And we're gonna get the bolts to hold the drive shaft on. We're gonna replace the straps for the drive shaft. Anyway, these guys knocking it out of the park today, of course. That is way better. A brand new set of drive shaft straps. Apparently those break. So that is it. That is where we're gonna stop tonight. As you can see, the serpentine belt is installed and we are ready to figure out radiator hoses. That's a tomorrow problem. It's a future problem there. And wires are on, new plugs are in, the ICT billet steam port is in, our radiator's in, all of the Holley sauce is just about ready. As you can see, there's the intake right there, ready to go on with the plugs where we need it plugged and the vacuum ports where we don't. Tank is ready to go in, and if you look under the car, the drive shaft is in with the new drive shaft straps.
Might be tough to see, but the drivetrain is complete all the way forward.
The transmission cooler is still a tomorrow problem too. And after that, we're ready to drop the wiring harness on and start this car. So it is incredibly close, and I'm getting excited now. I hope you guys are getting excited too. This was supposed to be, we thought about doing an episode where we just dropped this thing in and got it running in one day, because you could definitely do that if you had all the parts. So that's kind of why I was explaining. It's not exactly magic. Sometimes you just don't have all the parts and it doesn't come together. But it kind of came together today. We're getting close. We're waiting on some rear end magic that's on the way and a few other parts. I can't wire it until our weather pack connectors get here tomorrow too. So hopefully, as long as everything comes tomorrow, then we'll see. Everything will be done right on time.
Can't believe you said rear end magic.
Rear end magic? Well, I mean, that's what it is. Also, the glass is probably coming tomorrow, and you can see the Terminator is actually chilling up there, so we're ready to go standalone on this thing. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shopwatchshare.com where you can get cool shirts, not like this. And please, like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. I do think I went to O'Reilly's like 11 times today. And that might actually be an understatement. It may have been more than 11 times. We spent the whole day there getting parts figured out. Between O'Reilly's, Holley, and ICT Billet, we're getting it done.